Welcome everyone to our first lecture on inclusive planning. I am Professor Indrani Chakravarti and I am thrilled to guide you through this course. We have a diverse lineup of topics ahead and I hope you'll find them as intriguing as I do. Today we are embarking on a journey that will explore the various facets of inclusive urban planning. This is a field that seeks to ensure that urban environments are accessible and equitable for everyone. As we proceed, keep in mind that the goal is not just to learn the theories and policies, but to understand how they can be applied to make our cities better for all. Feel free to engage and ask questions as we go along. Let's make this an interactive and enriching experience for everyone. Understanding the need of inclusive planning is crucial as cities expand, ensuring they meet diverse need. And we'll divide our lectures lecture on the preliminary understanding of this inclusive planning into two parts. This lecture 1 and lecture 2 and this in this two part will cover five topics, which is theoretical foundation to explore theories and principles that guide equitable city creation, global standards, examine legislation guidelines supporting inclusive urban planning. And let me just give you a short hint that all those topics are, in fact, the whole course has been designed in keeping in mind the guidelines from AICT, ITPI India, and the state colleges curriculum. The third topic comprises of components of inclusive cities, focus on elements that measure progress and identify improvement areas, and finally the role of technology to investigate how digital accessibility and technologies like AI enhance inclusivity. So, as I have said, today we'll discuss the first two topics. Firstly, the background that highlights the need for inclusive urban planning. As our cities expand, the need for inclusivity becomes more and more evident. Urban spaces must address the diverse needs of all individuals, ensuring that everyone feels valued and embraced. Secondly, the theoretical foundation and guiding principles. Here we will explore uh, the theories, principles, policies, and models that steer these initiatives. These frameworks lay the groundwork necessary for developing cities that are equitable and accessible to all. As we delve into section 1, we are exploring a fundamental question. Why is inclusive urban planning becoming such a critical concern today? First and foremost, our cities are evolving at an unprecedented pace. And with this growth comes the responsibility to ensure that everyone, regardless of their background or ability, has equal access to opportunities. This is not just about infrastructure, it's about fostering communities where everyone feels valued and included. Consider this that as urban planners and community advocates, we must address a myriad of challenges from economic disparities to physical barriers. that prevent certain groups from thriving in urban environment. Our aim is to transform these challenges into opportunities for innovation and inclusion. Ultimately, this is about building cities that reflect diversity and richness of human experience. By prioritizing inclusive urban planning, we are not only enhancing physical spaces but also nurturing social equity and cohesion, creating a future where everyone has the chance to flourish. First, let's clarify who are these vulnerable groups. They are social groups that face systematic inequalities and higher risks of exclusion. Sorry. This vulnerability comes from social, economic, physical, institutional, and environmental barriers and reduces their access to opportunities and services. Key groups among this include people with disabilities. According to the RPWD Act 2016, disabilities can range from physical to sensory impairment, covering 21 types. These may hinder full societal participation. Elderly persons, typically those aged 60 and above, often experience age related limitations. They may also live with disabilities, which compounds their accessibility needs. Women, while not categorized by disability, face gender based vulnerabilities. Gender intersects with other identities like age or class, increasing the risk of exclusion. Children are another key group. Their dependence on adults for mobility and safety makes them particularly vulnerable, especially those with disabilities or from underprivileged backgrounds. Lastly, other individual who have who are facing social stigma and discrimination affecting their access to public spaces and services. Remember that the UN Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities guides us towards reasonable accommodation and universal design, promoting equal participation and inclusion for all. Let's keep these group in mind as we continue our discussion. Now, let's discuss some global and national statistics that shed light on the socioeconomic profile of the vulnerable population. Globally, over 1 billion people live with some form of disability. That's about 15 to 16% of the total world population. With rapid urbanization, most people will live in cities by 2050, which emphasizes the need of inclusive urban design. Turning to India, according to the 2011 census, approximately 2.68 crore people were living with disabilities. This represents about 2.21 of the total population. Interestingly, the majority of these individuals are in uh, area where there are low level there are the level of developments are very slow, and with the children and elderly people are making up a significant proportion in this group. These highlights a critical intersection of age and disability. From a socioeconomic perspective as well, persons with disabilities face challenges such as lower employment and education opportunities, and poorer health outcomes. Women with disabilities, in particular, have lower labor force participation than their male counterparts. Elderly individuals often deal with mobility limitations and chronic illness, which can lead to reduced participation in social and economic life. Despite these challenges, there are shared aspirations across all groups. These include safe and accessible public spaces, inclusive mobility and transportation, and access to education, employment, and basic services. Ultimately, it's about ensuring social participation and dignity in daily life for everyone. Exploring barriers in urban settings affecting vulnerable population. We'll discuss the challenges urban environment pose that restricted access for vulnerable group. So while cities are brimming with opportunities, they often present issues beyond mere physical mobility, impacting access to employment, education, health, and leisure. Minor obstacles such as staircases can severely limit mobility. Similarly, absence of internet access can obstruct educational and job prospects. These barriers are interrelated, influencing both current and future opportunities for communities. Next, we'll investigate how these challenges manifest in the development of citizen centric smart cities in different parts of the world, highlighting the importance of inclusivity and accessibility. This is a example, literary example. A study had been done and it had been documented through a technical paper communicated to one of the leading journal technical journal platform. So it's a study by Wentao Wang et al., which explores the barrier of developing citizen centric smart cities in China. The study aims to uncover key barriers and encourages us to rethink smart cities from a technology driven approach to one that centers on people's experiences. At the heart of this research is the concept of citizens' sense of gain, which measures aspects like material benefits from public services, the accessibility of urban services, opportunities for citizen participation, and trust in governance. The researchers used a combination of method to identify and categorize barriers. Some major barriers include the absence of institutional departments for citizen feedback, lack of unified policies, and digital inequality. These findings highlight the need for integrated reforms in policy institutions and digital governance. It's crucial to remember that these barriers are interlinked, not isolated. This understanding can guide us in creating more effective citizen focused governance structure. It is also very crucial to remember that these barriers are interlinked, not isolated. This understanding can guide us in creating more effective citizen focused governance structure. Ultimately, the success of smart cities should be measured by citizen outcome than rather than just technological advancement. The study prioritizing human experience and equity in urban planning. Next, we'll explore the levels of access in urban planning, a crucial aspect in creating inclusive environment. First, let's talk about reasonable accommodation. This involves making adjustments to allow equal participation for people with disabilities. According to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, these modifications should be necessary and appropriate without imposing an undue burden, specifically in terms of financial. Next, we have accessible design. This ensures those with mobility restriction can access essential parts of residential or public environments. It's about providing basic access. Then, barrier free design takes it further by removing obstacles entirely. Here, the focus on creating a physical environment free of impediments to movement, enhancing accessibility further. Finally, universal design is our holistic goal. The aims for inclusivity by default, designing products, environments, and services usable by everyone without needing adaptation. This approach anticipates diverse user needs proactively. Each of these levels reflects a growing commitment to inclusivity, moving from reactive measure to proactive systematic consideration. In this section, further, we are going to interrogate why inclusive urban planning is so vital. Think about how it upholds human rights and dignity. It's a cornerstone of our collective well being. By fostering inclusivity, we don't just improve access to services, we boost economic participation and productivity, making our cities healthier, safer, and more equitable. Cities that embrace inclusivity witness tangible benefits better than mobility, stronger community ties, and enhanced mental well being. It is not just about infrastructure, it's about building a society where everyone feels they belong. Now, let's consider the power of education role play. Uh, these exercises are essential in nurturing empathy and understanding. Imagine navigating a city using a wheelchair or experiencing a night walk as a woman community. This we always say in our design studio classes or planning studio classes, always think of yourself as an user. How would you feel? How would you experience them? This is the best judgment you can get and reflect on your design or policy framing. And uh, those picturing of yourself in the same situation will give you the insight when accessing public spaces as elderly person or engaging in civic life as a part of specially able community. It's a uh, life changing moments. You will learn to look at the things more empathetically, more compassionately. These role plays are more than activities, they are tools for developing situational awareness and problem solving skills in real world contexts. Now, let's explore some inspiring examples of cities that have embraced inclusive planning. First up is Vienna, Austria, a city often recognized for its commitment to being a city for women. Vienna has implemented gender sensitive policies to ensure that urban spaces are safe and accessible for women, considering diverse needs such as childcare and public transportation. Moving to Japan, we see a focus on creating cities for elderly. This involves designing environments that support aging populations, such as barrier free public spaces, accessible healthcare services. In Pontevedra, Spain, the focus has been on creating cities for children. The city has prioritized pedestrian friendly streets and safe, playful public spaces, promoting a sense of independence and safety for children and families alike. Uh, Finally, San Francisco, California is pioneering efforts as a city for transgender persons. This includes policies that ensure equitable access to public facilities and services, fostering a welcoming and supportive environment. These examples highlight the versatility and necessity of inclusive planning, showcasing how cities can be tailored to meet specific needs of their diverse population. Let's delve deeper into why inclusive urban planning is essential. First, it's all about upholding human rights and dignity for everyone. When we plan cities inclusively, we create environments that respect intrinsic value for all individuals. Moreover, inclusive planning boosts economic participation and productivity when everyone can contribute. The whole community thrives economically. Healthier and safer social environments are another significant benefit. Cities that embrace inclusivity see remarkable improvement in mobility, community cohesion, mental well being, and equitable access to services. Consider a city where navigating public transport with a wheelchair experiencing is not like experiencing uh, a nightmare or a nighttime walk for any citizen, without any fear, without any unsafe barrier, without any unsafe confrontation, be it physical, be it a social threat or something like that. So these scenarios will help to build empathy and understanding, which is crucial for effective urban planning. Effective, I must say, inclusive planning. Be a good Samaritan to your neighbor. This is the essence of inclusivity. Now, inclusive planning in India, if we scan through the timeline, aims to ensure that cities are equitable, accessible, and livable for all residents, especially the underprivileged section like urban poor, women, migrants, informal workers, persons with disabilities, rooted in the constitutional principles of equality and social justice. Inclusive planning recognizes housing, basic services, mobility, and participation as essential urban rights. India's trajectory of inclusive policies began with the adoption of constitution in 1950, which laid the foundation for equality, social justice, and welfare through fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy. In the early decades of after independence, inclusion was pursued through 5-year plans, land reforms, dowry prohibition, Act of 1961 and Minimum Needs Program of 1974, reflecting a welfare oriented development approach. And during the 1980s, the focus shifted toward targeted poverty alleviation, social protection through programs such as the Integrated Rural Development Program, the National Policy on Education, and the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Act of 1989. The 1990s marked a decisive phase of social justice and decentralization with the implementation of OBC reservations following the Mandal Commission. The 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment strengthening Panchayati Raj institutions and urban local bodies, the Persons with Disabilities Act of 1995, and the PASA Act of 1996. The 2000s witnessed the consolidation of rights based inclusion um, framework through landmark legislation such as the Right to Information Act, Manrega, and the Forest Right Act, and the Right to Education Act, which converted welfare into legal entitlement. In the 2010s, uh, in this decade, inclusive policy expanded further to address food security, land rights, health, financial access, and livelihood through measures such as National Food Security Act and the Land Acquisition Act, Jan Dhan Yojana, the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, Ayushman Bharat. In the next decade, that mean in 2020s, India's inclusive agenda has increasingly focused on digital access, crisis responsive social protection, informal workers, and gender equity, reflected in the National Education Policy 2020, PM Garib Kalyan Yojana, PM Swanidhi, and the Women Reservation Act of 2023, indicating a gradual shift from welfare based inclusion to right based participatory and gender responsive governance. Uh, this is another um, takeaway from a literary research by Bansal et al. It's a work between two leading institutions, NIUA and IIT. A key strategy for Indian cities is to mainstream inclusion through robust monitoring and evaluation framework, as highlighted by this technical paper in 2021. This involves integrating inclusive practices into everyday city governance and continuously assessing their impact. And it's important to remember that inclusion is not a one time effort but a continuous process. And for that, they have divided the framework into six categories, as you can see in the um, graphics. And this framework emphasizes the need for ongoing evaluation to adapt and improve strategies, ensuring they meet evolving needs of the diverse communities through state of the art technology, wisdom of the professional, and uh, effective governance. as we are talking about different sectors, different institution to work along for a inclusive, equitable policy framework, intersectionality is a key concept in this whole game, and the understanding multiple layers of identity that individuals navigate. It's about recognizing that age, gender, ability, the physical ability to move freely, uh, caste, class, sexuality don't exist in silos. They intersect, creating a unique experience and challenges. For inclusive urban planning to be truly effective, we need to acknowledge these overlapping identities. It's not enough to have a one size fits all solution. We must tailor our approaches to ensure all residents have equitable experiences. This means moving beyond segmented approaches to embrace comprehensive, inclusive strategies. Let's take a break and we'll continue with our section 2 further.